Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon, and I'm here to welcome you all here to the Tansson Talk Show, where our mission here is to help bring people together. I'm so excited to get into this episode, but without further ado, please allow for me to introduce my guest here today, Hayden Parsons. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, Hayden. And so, first of all, how are you doing here today?
I'm pretty good. I'm here. I'm living. It's a good day.
I'm so glad to hear it. And so, if you're able to take a moment to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching and listening audience here today.
Yeah, so my name's Hayden, like Brandon said, and I am a junior media production major at the University of Dayton. I'm local to the area in Ohio, so that's pretty fun being close to the school. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on. And so, I guess to get things started, I know you mentioned that you are local to the area. So is the University of Dayton always where you wanted to go?
Yeah, so my mom actually works at the University of Dayton, so I kind of grew up on the campus all the time. Like over summer when I was out of school, she'd take me in when she was at work, and so it kind of just feels like a second home to me. Like I knew the campus like the back of my hand. So it was kind of set in stone like ever since I was younger. I was like I want to go there for school.
That makes perfect sense. And I love that you have, like, yeah, a connection to it. So, I mean, it's already a second home for you. Might as well make it permanent.
Exactly.
And so, because you have that connection and that you're close to home, did you end up, staying home or did you go on campus?
I live on campus. That was one of the things my parents actually pushed for. They were like, "We want you to live on campus so you get the full experience. You can be independent." And it's actually been a really good time being here on campus. I've made a lot of friends, but it is nice being close to home because I have the option to go home if I want to. Where some of my roommates are like 8 hours away from home, so they can't go if they wanted to.
Well, at least you have that, yeah, that option. And do you go home often then?
I'd say pretty often, yeah. I make a lot of random trips to my house because I'm like, oh, I really wish I had this sweatshirt right now. So I'll like run home and grab it, and I'm like, hey guys. But I go home for dinner sometimes on the weekends. So
At least you have that flexibility with your with your schedule and yeah, and especially like being so close as opposed to like you said like 8 hours away.
yeah.
But yeah, and so since you do media production, is that always the route that you wanted to go into?
Um, yes and no. So when I was like younger, I always thought I wanted to be a teacher. Because I love talking to people. I love showing people how to do things. It was something I always loved doing. At one point, I was like, "Oh, I really love English. I want to be an English teacher." Um, and I also really loved psychology in high school, so I was like, "That'd be so much fun to do." But when I was in middle school, I took a video production class. It was like we had a little like morning news show that we would do for the school, and I fell in love in it. It made me realize that it was something I could do for a career because when I was younger, I'd always like film videos on my dad's phone and like edit them together on his like movie maker app on his laptop. And so I always did stuff like that, but I never knew that that was something that I could actually do as a career in the future. And so when I was in middle school and I took that class, I was like, oh, wait, this is like a tangible thing that I could actually do. So that kind of solidified it for me. And then I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. And I haven't looked back since.
I love that. And first of all, that Movie Maker app was just so helpful back then, right?
It was honestly for the time, it was so good.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing that it does not exist now, but it's
Yes.
nevertheless, it's just like, it had practically everything you needed and it made it everything pretty decent.
Yeah, it wasn't bad and it was easy to use. Like sometimes I just need to cut a video together super quick and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to open it up in Premiere and like use all this. It's just it was simpler.
Yeah, I definitely very much relate to that. And I love that you originally wanted to to be a teacher. And so out of curiosity, like when did that start for you?
Ooh, honestly, I think it was, I don't even know like when it exactly started. My mom would always like, ugh, that's hard because it was kind of something that just like dawned on me one day. I was like, oh, teacher, like me and my friend, we would have a little whiteboard. And so, like, when we were little and we'd hang out, we'd like play teacher and we'd be like, okay, class, this is what we're doing today. So we'd always do stuff like that. And I just, when I was younger, I really loved school. So I think that's part of the reason I wanted to be a teacher because I had a good time and I always loved all my teachers that I had. And my mom had taught a couple of classes. So it was just kind of something that I was like, oh, yeah, like this seems like fun.
Well, nevertheless, it's just such a a great ambition, to go to, especially like of course your mom's connection too, and
Hmm.
so yeah, like I know for me growing up, I also wanted to be a teacher, and so it was like such a really cool like ambition, and and then I used to teach my little brother who's 4 years younger than me, and all of these lessons he did not want to learn,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I completely relate to that, and so that's really cool that you also have that sort of connection.
Yeah. That's fun.
But yeah, and so I know you mentioned, of course, that you got into your morning show in middle school, and and the histories from there, in terms of wanting to do media production. But I'll say, what actually got you into the morning show, though?
So it was like, I think it was an elective that we were allowed to take in middle school. So it was either that or like some music class. And I, for one, am not musically talented at all. So I was like, that's not gonna happen. So I was like, well, I guess I'll take this class. Um, and it was it was actually a really fun time because we kind of did the morning show all throughout the year, but then we also had other lessons with we do like a photography lesson and then we do like a somewhat of an editing lesson, like that kind of stuff. And so it introduced me to a lot of different aspects of media production, which I really enjoyed. It was funny because on the morning show I was actually in front of the camera. um and so it was weird because I was like, oh, like now I'm like, oh, I'm not an in front of the camera person. Like, I don't want to do that. But at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, like I'll be in front of the camera. Duh. But it introduced me to a lot of different aspects of media. And so that was very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think being like on air talent is like such a interesting, skill set to have. And it's one of those things where even for me, like I can easily, I think, do the stuff for my platform, but if this were like for anyone else, it's like I don't know. I'd prefer to be behind the scenes doing something where I'm not
Exactly.
seen.
Yes, exactly.
But nevertheless, I'm glad to hear that like that was able to evolve from there. And so, like by the time you entered high school, did you at least know generally what you wanted to do within media, or was it still like a broad interest in?
I'd say it was still a broad interest. I knew I wanted to be behind the scenes with it. But I wasn't really sure what exactly I wanted to do. I really loved editing at the time, and so I was like, I think that might be the route that I want to go down. And I also just, I loved being behind the camera too. So it was kind of more narrow in the sense that I was like, okay, I know I want to be behind the scenes, and I know I want to do something creative, but overall, I didn't have a like a specific path yet.
Yeah, and when did you say that you really figured out like which path you wanted to go for? And did you have any media opportunities in high school?
So in high school, I went to a really small school, so we didn't have a lot of class options. I took one class my senior year, and it was like a multimedia class. So we did a lot of different things. Like we did some stop motion animation, we did some like audio, like it was just kind of everything. And it was another elective that we could take. So I took that. and that was just really fun. It introduced me to like Photoshop and Adobe and that kind of stuff, so that was good. But honestly, I didn't really know what path I wanted to go down until like probably last year. And honestly, it's still kind of up in the air. Like, I know I want to be behind the scenes. In an ideal world, I'd love to direct films, but that's a little ambitious at the moment. I really love editing, so that's something that I do a lot, like with my jobs. That's mainly what I do. So that's probably the path I'm gonna go down. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. But I do love having the creative direction with it.
I love that. And before, I start asking questions about what you're currently doing. So you mentioned that last year was probably around the time that you finally figured out, which behind the scenes direction you wanted to go on. And so what changed for that?
I think so. I think it was probably my job. So I work in the marketing department on campus in their video production department. Um, so I do a lot of like the campus visit videos and just anything that's UD marketing related. So I was always kind of just a PA on the set, if that makes sense. Like I'm just kind of there to help out wherever and whenever. But last year my boss gave me a project to make a behind the scenes video of this campaign launch that we were doing. And so I got like full creative control on it. I filmed it all, I interviewed the people, and then I got to edit it all. And I think when I was editing it, I was like, okay, this is something that I actually really enjoy. And it's different when it's something that you've created versus like somebody just handing you a video and they're like, hey, can you edit this? But like when it's something that I had a part in, it made it so much more enjoyable. And I was like, okay, I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think it's one of those times where when you have full control over something, and like you're the one in charge of mapping out the direction. It's like, you know what? If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this my way, and let's see what I can
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. No, for real.
But that's really cool that you were able, yeah, to be given that type of opportunity. And did you expect that sort of opportunity to come your way?
Honestly, not really. I'd done a couple editing projects in that job before. Um, but they were more of just like, hey, like we need this part of the video fixed, like we need to update this graphic, that kind of stuff. Um, but my boss had always talked to me. He was like, I want to give you like more opportunities. Like I want to see, like you're here to learn, so I want you, whatever you're interested in doing, like let me know and we can, work it out because I want you to gain stuff from being here. So he's been super helpful. He's always been on my side. But I wasn't expecting him to give me a full project and just be like, go for it. Um, and so it was really fun, and it made me feel good that he like trusted me enough to like make this whole project by myself. And I was really proud of the way it turned out. So it was a good time.
Well, that's amazing to hear. And how long had you been working there before you were given the project?
About a year. I started working there kind of like a month after I started school freshman year. And I think we started the project kind of, it was second semester of sophomore year. So probably a little bit over a year I'd been working there.
And do you still work there?
I do still work there. Yes.
And have you been able to have any sort of projects to that caliber that have really excited you and and give you a little bit more control to figure things out your way?
Yeah, so I'm actually working on a project right now. We're building a new building on campus for um, it's called the Roger Glass Center of Arts. So it's for like um, theater, media production, just like kind of that artistic side of schooling. And so we're making a couple different videos for UD, and one of them is about the building. So I'm the project manager for that. I'm in charge of doing that right now. So that's been really fun. It's kind of shown me the other side of things, like the organizing it, keeping track of everybody, like logging the footage, like all that kind of stuff. That's been really cool to learn, and that's what I've been doing a lot with this project. But I think I'm going to have a hand in some of the post production and stuff with that too. So
Well, that is so cool, though, that that you're able to have part of that, especially with a new center coming up. I mean, be a part of that history.
Yes, yeah, no, it's really exciting. I've enjoyed doing it so far.
I love it. And so I guess fast forwarding to today. So what are all the things that you are currently working on and involved in right now? Because I think it's quite a bit.
Yeah, so okay, I'll start on campus. So I work my marketing job. That's really fun. It's something I enjoy doing. I get a lot of experience from it. We do a lot of different types of videos, so it's always something new happening. So it's a good time. And I love the people I work for. So I've really bonded with them over the past almost 3 years now. So it's been a good time. Um, and then I'm part of Flyer TV, which is a student program here at UD, where students can basically create their own TV shows and they get put up on our YouTube channel. And then also we have like a cable channel that's local throughout campus that they get put on. So I run a show called Flyer Pilots, and the goal of it is to teach people all the aspects of the production process. So we meet as a group, we start in pre-production, we come up with the idea of what our script's going to be, we write it together, we workshop it together, we plan through all of the pre-production together. Then we go and we film, and everybody kind of has like a specific role that they're doing, to try to make it as close to the real world as possible. And then we go into post, we edit it, and then we kind of have like a little premiere watch party that we do when they come out. So that's been really exciting. So I produced that, and I actually joined Flyer Pilots my freshman year in Flyer TV, and somebody else ran it, and she was a senior. And then when she graduated, she was like, "Hey, do you want to run this?" And I was like, "I'd love to." So that's kind of how I stepped up into the role of doing that. It's really fun just to kind of see where everybody's at and bounce ideas off people. So I really enjoy that. Um, and then I also do just flyer media in general with UD. So kind of I'll get random video projects that they're like, "Hey, can you go film like an update of this dining hall?" Or like, we filmed a couple interviews for Christmas on campus that we do. So it's just little things like that that I'll kind of like, I guess, freelance in a sense on campus. Um, and then outside of media production area on campus, I'm in Phi Beta Chi, which is a communication fraternity, where we do a lot of professional development, so like interviewing workshops, that kind of stuff. I'm vice president of that. And then off campus, I have an internship at Dayton Children's Hospital in their video department. So I edit when I'm there. I have done a couple like filming projects, but for the most part, I edit a lot of videos there. So I think that's everything. I'm pretty sure that's everything.
Well, nevertheless, that is quite a bit. And how do you manage the time?
Oh, that's so this year especially has been very, very hectic with my timing. My internship, I work at Dayton Children's, is I work there over the summer, and then it's going through fall. And then they asked me, they're like, "Do you want to do spring too?" And I was like, "I guess so. Why not?" So I'm doing it through spring too. And it's very difficult to manage classes and working, and then having a social life and being with my friends, and then also trying to find time for myself. But I've sort of managed it so far. I'd say I'm doing pretty good given the circumstances. I I'm in the grad program here at UD also, so it's like a bachelor's plus master's thing. So when I graduate, I'll have 1 year my master's done. I just have a year left. So that's great program. I love it, but that's definitely something that's been taking up a lot of time. Just trying to navigate grad classes with undergrad classes and then everything else. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have a good support system here on campus with all of my friends, so I'm able to balance it pretty well.
Well, I'm glad that you are able to balance it well. And I guess for taking those graduate, program classes, is that something that you had sort of always envisioned, or was it just an opportunity that came up?
It was more just an opportunity that came up. I mean, like, I was always open to getting a master's degree or like something higher up, but I was never really like dead set on doing it because I was like, I'm going into media production. It'd be nice to have it, but it's not like it's something that, you're like, you need to have a master's program to do your job. Um, so it was more so just the opportunity. I was like, I mean, why not? Like, I'll have the time to do it. I came in with some credits already from AP classes, so like I had the time to add in other courses to my schedule. I was like, yeah, why not? We'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad at least that you're working, working towards that. And I know, like, even for me, like last year, I was, doing a very similar thing with finishing out undergrad. Like, I was starting to take some graduate courses, and then when I officially graduated in December, I transitioned right into the master's program, and so it was really, fun doing that. Although it's hard to really explain to others, like how a graduate program works because like, oh well, you all are an undergrad, so I don't really know how to explain how a
Yes,
graduate program is laid out in comparison, but it's just different.
it is. It's yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's just different. It's like in some aspects it's harder, in other aspects it's easier. Like it's hard to explain.
Yeah, definitely. But how's the adjustment period going for you so far?
It's been pretty okay. So I took my first grad class last semester. And it was kind of a good intro class. It was a media production class, like a specific class. So it was kind of nice because it was kind of going over the basics of everything again. So it was a lot of stuff I'd already known from classes I'd taken. So it wasn't too difficult to kind of get into the program with that. So it was a good kind of transition class to kind of introduce me to the grad program, but not stress me out too much. And then this semester I'm taking like a mass media class, so more theory based, a lot more reading, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the full fledged like grad program class that you think of. So it's been an adjustment with the amount of like reading and writing that I'm doing, but I think having that last class really kind of transitioned me well.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely glad to hear that. Yeah, it helped transition you well, and so going back a little bit, since you mentioned that you edit videos for the local children's hospital, so when did that start for you for your internship?
So I started kind of right after school ended last semester. So I think it was around May, I think. Yeah, I think it was around May, kind of early May. And I actually got the job because we had a communication career fair here at school. So it was like solely com focused job places that came in. So a lot of media production stuff came in because a lot of the career fairs we have on campus are aimed more towards like engineering and business and that kind of stuff. And there's not really anything for the art side of it. So it was a really good opportunity, and that's how I met Dayton Children's and their team. And I put in an application. I was like, this seems like a really good opportunity. It's local to me. Like it's a good way to get my foot into the door with kind of more of the corporate side of things, if that's the way I wanted to go. And so I put my application in, I got an interview, and then they hired me. So I've been kind of doing that since then. And it's been good. It's taught me a lot about office life and editing in the corporate side of things, and less of the fictional creative side of things, which is what I've done up till now. So it's been good.
Well, at least you're having a little bit of a mixture to see what you prefer over others. And what would you say is your preference right now, having had a few months of experience on the other side of things?
I'd say my preference is probably the fictional side of things. I love being creative. I love getting to tell a story, and you get to do that with more of the corporate side of things, but it's less. You have less freedom of the choices that you make because there's certain things that you have to include. Like there's certain things that need to be in there for a video. People are telling you like, hey, this is the video I want. This is what I want it to look like. Um, there's certain colors and graphics that you're allowed to use that line up with their marketing program, like just that kind of stuff that kind of limits how much freedom you have while editing it. And then sometimes it's nice because you have that guideline, but then other times it's like, oh, okay, like it's just kind of the same cookie cutter type of thing that I've been doing. So I probably prefer the fictional side.
Well, that's definitely, really interesting to hear. And I mean, and I think something about the fictional side is that it allows from you to it sort of mix that, the technicals of production, but also with the creativity of yourself. So that way you don't have to like limit to one side or the other. It's like they can work in tandem
Yes.
together.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of fiction, though, so could you actually speak a little bit more about your flyer pilot show?
Yeah. So, like I said, we kind of create a bunch of short films. It started out, the name came from the girl who I took the show from. Her original idea was that they would create pilot episodes of TV shows. And so that's where the name came from. And then we kind of slowly went away from that and went more into just creating short films in general. So it's been a really cool opportunity, and I've kind of taken the show and changed it a little bit. My goal is to teach people about all the different aspects of the production process and all the different things that they can do with it. I get a lot of new people who are new to media production who are joining the show and have never really worked on a production before. So it's been really fulfilling getting to teach them all the different aspects of it. Um, and it's also just so much fun to see everybody's different creative minds and what they come up with. This semester we're just doing one short film this semester. We're actually filming for it next weekend, so that's it coming up. I'm really excited for that. But we kind of came in as a group, and I was like, okay, like what ideas do you guys have for a short film? Like, let's just throw out some things that we've been thinking of. And so we had probably like 5 different ideas that got thrown up on a whiteboard, and we combined all of them into one story, which was really fun to take all the different ideas that we had. And we were like, okay, how can this work in one story together? So we brainstormed as a group, and then I handed it off to 2 people who were like, I'm really interested in writing. I was like, okay, here you go. So I learned from the past that it's easier to give it to just specific people to write instead of group writing, because we did that once when I wasn't in charge. We did a group writing script, and it was good. It was time effective, but it you could kind of tell when other people stopped writing and somebody started writing, so it wasn't as cohesive. Um, so I handed it off to 2 people to write for this semester. They came back, and then we workshopped it as a group. They made edits, we workshopped it again, and we had our final script. And then I really go through and I like to get a sense of what people are interested in, whether that be like audio or camera work, or if they're interested in post production. And then I try to place them into jobs that I think they'd have fun doing and that they'd also learn something from. And I also try to get people to shadow other people. So, like, I have somebody on my crew for this shoot. He was in charge of costumes and kind of like hair and makeup for characters and stuff, but he's also really interested in learning camera work. So I'm having him shadow on our actual shoot day, like our camera person, because once the characters are in their costumes, he's just kind of there. So I was like, go shadow our camera person so you can see what they're doing, and then maybe the next time we film, you can do camera work. So I try to do stuff like that to get people all the opportunities that they can have. And then we'll go into post production, and I have a specific editor, but then I also have a sound designer. I have somebody working on music, like all that kind of stuff. And then later on in the semester, we'll kind of have like a premiere party, a watch party, where we come in as a meeting and we watch the film. And then I always love doing like a form at the end of whenever we film of asking people like, okay, what did they like best about it? What experience did they get from it? But then also, where can we improve for next semester for our next short film? Like, what can we do differently to either give you more opportunities or make it go smoother? Just anything like that. I always love getting feedback. So,
That's actually really cool that you're able to do that. And while you may not be in a traditional classroom setting, I mean, what you're doing right here is sort of, yeah, with teaching people the process of production and everything. Yeah, I think this sort of might fulfill your part of your childhood dream of being a teacher.
yes, yeah, no, it definitely, I get so much joy kind of showing people the different aspects of it and bringing in my own experience too. I've been a PA on 2 shows before, um, like outside of school and stuff over the summer. And so kind of being able to bring that experience into the school aspect of people who haven't had those opportunities yet, and kind of being a guide and kind of a mentor with stuff like that has been very fulfilling.
Well, that's really great to hear. That's been fulfilling. And how was the experience, doing those, being part of those 2 productions this summer?
It was a really good experience. I was on kind of 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. So the first one I did was a bigger production. It was with ABC and Disney. So it was a big, there was a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. So it was kind of overwhelming at first because there is so much going on. Um, and so I got to see so many different people, but at the same time, like I was strictly in production assistant mode. So like on that production, I was mainly on crafty and then anything else that needed help around. But then the second one I PA'd for was a super, super small crew. I think there was like 12 of us in total. Very small. So although I was in there as a production assistant, I got to do so much more on that set in different roles because of how small the crew was. Like at one point I was helping interview people. Um, at another point I was doing the classic PA, like crafty, running errands, that kind of stuff. I did some costume stuff that I was helping out with. Um, I What was great about that one was that because it was smaller, I had the time and the opportunities to sit down with some of the people who are working on the crew and really get to know them and connect with them. And there's people that I still talk to this day, like all the time, because I was able to form that genuine bond. So like I got to talk to our audio person that was on set, and he was teaching me about his equipment and like talking me through like how he got there and what he was doing. So that was just, it was really cool to get to know everybody more. It felt more intimate because it was smaller, and I was able to form better bonds with a smaller crew than I was in something so big.
Wow, that's really great though that you were able to have 2 like vastly different opportunities and truly, like you said, like on opposite sides of the spectrum. And what would you say were the truly one right after the other?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks in between them, but it was pretty close together.
And which one did you prefer more for the environment?
I would say the smaller production probably, just because I'm kind of a people person, a relationship person. Like I like to get to know people and feel connected to them. So having a smaller production was a really good way to understand the different aspects and get to know people and learn about their journeys and their stories. I mean, the bigger production, it was nice. I made some connections with a few people. One of the other PAs on the set for the bigger production was actually one of the camera operators on the second PA job that I went to, the smaller one. And so he was the one that actually reached out and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this? Like, we're looking for a PA." And I was like, "I'd love to." So I made connections, but it was fewer, and they didn't go as deep as they did with the smaller ones. So I definitely preferred the more intimate setting.
That's really cool that you were able to make that sort of connection and go from, one to the other. And that sounds really cool that you were able to do that. And out of curiosity, how long did both of the productions generally last that you were a part of anyway?
Yeah, so they were both about a week long. So I think I worked on each of them probably about 6 days. With PAs, there's like a cutoff with the amount of days that you can work. Like there's some stuff like that. So I think it was about 6 days for each of them. So same time frame, um, about the same hours. The bigger production, I definitely worked longer hours because there was always something else that needed to be done. Whereas the smaller one was a competition cooking show that I was working on. So it was kind of like once the competition was done and it got judged and we grabbed some interviews, it was like, okay, we're kind of wrapped for the day because it's not like we can move on to another scene to go film. Like, so it was kind of nice having having shorter days, but yeah.
Well, that's really great to hear. And I did want to briefly touch on, too, that since you are a vice president of a professional communications group, I mean, how'd you get there?
Yeah, so I joined that second semester of my freshman year because I was like, this it seems like a good opportunity. And at the time, like I knew I was in media production. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I was like, I feel like joining this will help give me some better skills with interviewing and just kind of things like that, maybe help me network a little bit more. Um, so I joined it, and then um my I don't what is it called? My like class that I got initiated with, we had a class president and they voted me class president for them. So my job was just kind of to stay in touch with the exec board at the time, um, and just kind of communicate in between the two. So it really wasn't like anything special, but it was just kind of it pushed me in that direction of a leadership role. And then they had a opening for their exec board my sophomore year, first semester, and it was a new member educator. So when a new class gets initiated, they kind of teach about the history of the fraternity and that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, well, this seems like an easy job and an easy way to step up in leadership and be a part of the exec board. So I did that, and I got the position. I was new member educated for 2 semesters, and then all of our exec board graduated. They were all seniors, so they all left. So we had elections again, and it our exec board got filled with a bunch of people in my grade, and so a lot of my friends and people that I know were in the exec board. And so it was funny because my position was still technically new member educator, but then I was also doing some media production stuff with them, like taking photos at events. Um, and then our president at the time was like, "Hey, I need a second-hand man." He was like, "I have a vice president right now, but I need somebody else too that can help me." So we ended up having two vice presidents, and I was one of them. We called them internal and external. So I worked more directly with our fraternity and our president, whereas our other vice president worked a lot with outside organizations and like contacting people and that kind of stuff. So it kind of happened by accident, I would say. Like I wasn't planning on it. But I've had a good time doing it. So
That's really cool. And would you say, with all of these different opportunities that you have across the campus, I mean, I know it already was a second home for you, but would you say that you've gotten, a different understanding of, the University of Dayton now that you've practically have been a part of so many different organizations, productions, and everything else on campus?
yeah, I've definitely learned a lot. Being in PBX, I've gotten to know a lot of different people, and kind of their backgrounds and where they came from and what they're wanting to do. So it was a good way to meet other people who were in my major, just not my specific focus in media production. Um, and then working my marketing job has been so eye-opening for how the campus works and the different kinds of people we have on our campus. We've done so many different video projects, from interviewing our president to interviewing students to doing campaign videos. Like, I've just learned so much about how UD works behind the scenes of what you see. And that's been so interesting to learn about. And then things like Flyer TV, like all those people that I work with and that I know from there have just become my second family. And we hang out all the time and we're really close as a group. So that's been really nice, kind of having people who are doing the same things that I'm doing and are passionate about the same things, and just having that core group who I know I can go to if I need anything. And we kind of all try to give each other the same opportunities and events to go to. So it's been really nice.
Well, I'm so glad that you're able to, yeah, to have those opportunities and sort of get to see like a little bit of the inside workings of your university. But I guess for the remaining time that we have, I actually want to shift gears a little bit. So when you're not doing all of the video production, when you're not fully immersed into college, what is your life like outside of that?
Ooh, okay. That's a fun question. So I guess one of my hobbies is I love baking. I bake all the time. I've always been a baker. My mom has photos of me from now I was little, like trying to reach up to her KitchenAid mixer and like make cookies. So it's something I've always loved doing. Over quarantine, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start selling my baked goods. So I kind of started this little at-home bakery business. It's called Little Bees Bakery because I love bees. That's like part of my personality. Um, so I kind of started that. So I've had a lot of people reach out for, I make a lot of cakes for birthdays and kind of anniversaries, things like that. So that's something I enjoy doing on my free time. I'm always baking. I just baked pumpkin bread the other day for, there was no reason behind it other than I just wanted to bake something. It's a good way to get out my stress of things that's going on. Um, I also love to read. I'm a big reader, so whenever I have the time to sit down with a book, that's something I really enjoy doing. Um, but like outside of school and my friends that I have here at school, I'm a big family person, so I try to spend as much time with my family as I can. Um, it's been really fun. My brother, he has a dog now, so I love spending time with his dog and like taking him out on walks and hikes. And my brother just got engaged to his girlfriend too. So it's just like, I love spending as much time with my family as possible because I am so close to them. And it's nice to kind of have that reset and just be around people that I enjoy and that I don't have to be constantly doing something with. Like, we can just sit and watch TV and everybody's cool with it. You know what I mean? So it's really nice.
I love that. And I love that, outside of all of your work, which you do a lot, definitely. But I love that, that you actively are working to do what you're passionate about and be with people that you're passionate about around being.
Exactly. Yeah.
And out of curiosity, like for your at home bakery, so I guess when did you decide to actually start doing some of this stuff for people outside of just your own fun and interest?
Yeah. So Um, honestly, it was probably over COVID because I was baking a lot because, like I said, it's something I love doing. And I was like, I have nothing else to do. I might as well just bake and try to get better at it. So I started trying like a bunch of different things, like making up recipes, like that kind of stuff. And I was having a really good time. And my dad was like, you give these baked goods out to people all the time because, I mean, with the amount of time that I would bake at my house, like our family could not eat it all. So I'd start like taking it to neighbors and like things like that. And my dad was like, this is something you really enjoy doing. Why don't you start like trying to make money off of it? Like, not even a lot, but just like, you know, go on a little adventure with it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make an Instagram for it. I'm going to post about the things that I make and I'm going to see if people want to buy them. And it started out with just a lot of my close friends. Like they'd be like, hey, can you make me cookies? Like that kind of stuff. And then slowly it started kind of gaining a little traction. And people from UD that my mom works with will be like, hey, my kid's having a birthday party. Can you bake them a birthday cake? Like that kind of stuff. And so at one point over the summer, kind of right after COVID, I was doing a lot with it. And then I kind of scaled back once school started. And now it's kind of just here and there with like big events or birthdays that people ask me to make stuff. Um, but it's something that it's just kind of fun. Like I don't make a lot of money off of it. It's not something that I have like a strategic business plan for. Like I don't have, I don't keep track of anything with it. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And I'm happy if I make like $5 from something. Like it's more so I enjoy doing it and I like to share that with other people. But it is nice just to break even so that it doesn't cost me anything but my time.
Yeah, I love that you're able to have a, like a passion business. And yes, I completely understand the at least break even, because sometimes like when you put like a lot of hard work into something, it's like I'm not doing this for, for the money, but at the very least I at least want to cover the expenses.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, my time is my gift to you. Like this is something I love doing. Like I'm not worried about making money from it, but it is nice when, I can go buy ingredients and then get that money back when I give them the baked good.
Yeah, I definitely, bet that would be nice. And I definitely, of course, wish you all the best, and hopefully you continue with it whenever you have more free time, because, you truly are doing quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and you mentioned too that, that you enjoy, reading. And so are there any genres that you prefer over others?
Ooh, I love a good mystery genre. I'm a big true crime person. I love listening to true crime podcasts. Like I'm all about that kind of stuff. So I love mystery books. They're just so much fun to read. Um, and then I love the cheesy romance novels too because it's a good way to escape from reality. And I like sometimes it's nice to read something that you don't have to think about and you can just enjoy it and like turn your brain off for a second.
Yeah, like I feel like some certain passion, readings, and even passion hobbies. It's like no, it's like I work so much doing all this other stuff. I just want a time where I'm just able to relax, do something a tad more passively as opposed to actively working towards everything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that you're able to, like I said, really dive into all of that. And of course, while I know, you just mentioned that you enjoy reading, but out of curiosity, do you do any writing as well?
I do. I love writing. That's something I forgot to mention. I have a creative writing minor right now. So it's something I love doing. And I've taken a screenwriting class, so writing movies, that kind of stuff. So that's something that I would love to continue doing, like as a hobby in the future. Like, once I get an actual job, just kind of on my free time writing scripts and stuff. Like I love doing that. I love storytelling, and I think that's where that came from. I grew up writing stories like all the time. Um, it's a good way. I enjoy it because it allows me to kind of like interweave my feelings and my life experience in with this fictional story. And so it's kind of a way to like, I don't want to say cope with things, but it's kind of a way to write out what I'm feeling, but also be able to picture it in a different way. Like I'm writing, putting my feelings into this character who's in this completely different setting in this completely different world. But it's a way to kind of take a step back and I'm like, okay, this is how this character's feeling. This is what they're doing about it. I can do the same thing about it. You know what I mean? So it's a good way to kind of work on mental health while also having a really good time writing a fun story.
I absolutely love that, and I love that you're able to, you know, to use your your interest and use it as a way to to not just help yourself, but but also do it as a way that you're just able to have fun with it and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good time.
But yeah, and if there's anywhere like online, that people can, tune into whatever you're doing now and and anything else, where are the best places for them to do so?
I'd say my Instagram, I kind of update that a lot, with things that I'm doing, especially with media production. Um, so I update that a lot. I have an Instagram for my bakery. I don't really update it that often, but I'll dump some photos every now and then of things that I've baked recently. Um, I'd say Instagram's probably the best way. Because I'll also kind of put up links and stuff if I have stuff up on YouTube and that kind of stuff. So
Cool, perfect. And out of curiosity, for those who are tuning in, what are your Instagram handles so that way they can follow them?
yes, so my Instagram handle is Hayden Parsons Film. I think there's a period at the end of it. I'm not positive. I can check on that. And then my bakery is Lil B's Bakery. I'm actually gonna check now. What I've had them for so long that I do not like remember the exact. Okay, so it's Hayden Parsons dot film for my film Instagram, and then it's Lil dot B's Bakery for my baking Instagram.
I love that. And I hope that everyone who's tuning in, will be sure to follow your pages and and continue to be a part of what you're up to next. And so, last but certainly not least, I did want to say while we're speaking here today, what would you like to leave the watching and listening audience with here today? Whether it's a life lesson, inspirational thought, quote, whatever the case may be, the floor is all yours, Hayden.
Oh, oh, okay, the pressure's on. Um, I'd say just take every opportunity that you can get. I feel like that's where I've gotten to where I'm at now is just because, even if it's just somebody coming into campus and I'm talking to them, it's you're building connections and you're networking with people. And especially in the media production field, it's all about who you know and having connections with people. I mean, my second PA job I got because I knew somebody on the first set. The first PA job I got because somebody who was working on the set, their sister was like worked at UD, so I knew them. So it's all about connections and even smaller things like I've gone to a couple some companies will do like product showcases and that kind of stuff. Just going to those, networking with people, getting to know them, and just taking any opportunity you can get, even if it's something that you're like, I don't know if this is really what I want to do or if this is really going to help me. It's going to show you what you don't want to do, which is very important to know. And anything that you do, you can take a lesson from it and use it to help you in the future, no matter what it is. Whether that's, oh, I interviewed for this job, I didn't get the job, but in this interview, I learned that, you need to do this, this, and that to really have a strong interview. Or, like I did this assignment for a class project, and even though it doesn't relate to my major specifically, I learned how to communicate with people. I learned how to kind of run a group and be in charge and keep track of everything. And so it's just everything that you do is an experience that's going to help you in the future. And just taking those opportunities that come up, whether you think they're going to help or not, just jumping on those are going to get you to where you want to go. Um, Sometimes faster than others, sometimes it might take a little while, but just taking every chance you get to do what you love and then continuing doing what you love outside of school too. Like some of my friends and I wrote a script over the summer, like we would go film little videos over the summer. So just stuff like that, like that you're still learning and you're still practicing the skills that you have, but it's more fun because we worry so much about what job we're going to have and if we're going to make money in the future that I think it's really easy to fall out of love with what you're doing. So taking the time when you're free to just sit there and do it on your own without the constraints of classes and stuff like that, it really helps you fall back in love with what you're doing and remind you of why you're doing it in the first place.
I absolutely love that, and I think that's just such a great closing message because I think like you were saying, just so many of us like we might go into college and major in what we love and everything, but I think it definitely takes a balance sometimes to okay, this is might be a little too much. Let's tone it down a little bit, work on this on our free time, and so
Mm-hmm.
I just think that your message was so powerful, and I definitely fully agree with making connections as well. And I mean, you were recommended to be here too.
Yeah, yeah, that was from a connection. So,
Yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed the experience as well.
oh, I did. This has been so much fun.
I'm so glad. And yeah, definitely keep me in touch with everything that you're going to do. And I can't wait to continue supporting your story.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely keep you in touch. I'll keep you as a connection for sure.
I really look forward to that. For those of you watching or listening, thank you all so much for tuning in to this amazing discussion with Hayden. I really appreciate it. But until next time, have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's continue on our mission to bring people together. I'll see you all next week. Take care.